Hello, welcome to Misinformed, the podcast for movie reviews. I'm Alex Siegel, notorious ladies' man and sire to the future generation of Superman.
Hi, I'm Alex, giant squid trainer and creator of unfathomable underwater art.
Today we're reviewing a new horror movie called Underwater. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to actually see the movie. I was too busy lubricating my sump pump.
Unfortunately, I didn't see it either because my cute 7-foot pet shark had escaped and was flopping all over my lawn, scaring the neighbors. I'm happy to say that I have the scars to prove that I caught it before the fire department arrived.
Well, we'll try to do the review anyway. Can I please get a synopsis?
A crew of underwater researchers must scramble to safety after an earthquake devastates their subterranean laboratory. Surprise! The earthquake was caused by a giant monster that had been dormant for centuries and has now awakened, ready to wreak havoc in the sequel.
I love this movie. It was an adrenaline-fueled terror show combined with the feeling of total suffocation. I was turning blue by the end. Movie theaters really need to pass out oxygen masks to people who see this movie. Or at least it should come with some serious warning signs. Still, I wouldn't have missed the experience for the world. What did you think of it?
Once you get over the fact that these scientific researchers completely ignore science, the film has a few worthwhile jump scares and lots of hard breathing inside suits, which made it impossible to understand most lines. I also did not appreciate the water leaking from the ceiling of the theater as their station started to crack apart.
My favorite line in the movie was, "This must be the wettest water I've ever felt." What was your favorite line?
Well, one of the characters sums up their plan like so. So, with insufficient oxygen, we walk across the bottom of the ocean and it's out there. I love this line because it summarizes everything that we need to know about why this movie is laughable.
Well, let's get right into the plot. I want to get all sciencey for a minute here. At a depth of 7 miles, the pressure of the water is 1,100 atmospheres, or 8¼ tons per square inch. Any sort of hull breach at that depth, no matter how tiny, would be instantly catastrophic. Yet in this movie, they seem to just leak water. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I want to add something about what you said about the depth of the ocean. It says in the movie it's 7 miles down, and it turns out that the deepest spot in the ocean is actually at 6.83 miles.
I think the science in this movie is a little dodgy. Another thing that bothered me was how they keep turning the lights on and off. It was driving me crazy.
Wasn't that supposed to signify that electricity was going in and out because it was shorting out from the water?
I think they were doing it intentionally at one point, too, to scare off the monster.
Well, that makes total sense if the monster is old and has cataracts.
Yes, and the last thing I wanted to mention was, did you see the cameo by the Little Mermaid?
Was that little green tail that we saw swish by?
Yes, and it was singing a little song.
I heard of that, and I wondered where it came from. It was very strange. I thought somebody was just watching a video.
Let's talk about the cast. Who was your favorite?
Well, I knew she looked familiar, and it turns out that while she has few film credits, Jessica Henwick, who plays Emily, was Nymeria Sand, one of the sand snakes in Game of Thrones. Also, Kristen Stewart is one of Charlie's Angels.
My favorite actor was T.J. Miller, who plays Paul. But I thought he was much better as Gene in the Emoji Movie. That was a great film.
That was a very strange film, to say the least. Anything you want to say about the music?
I have a couple of things to mention. One was how the music featured a wrench banging against water-filled pipes at several points. That was kind of annoying.
But it's a traditional classic cry for help using Morse code against a pipe.
And I also noticed they couldn't avoid slipping in the Jaws theme a few times.
Yeah, that was kind of boring. And it turns out it's still pretty noisy underwater, and much of the soundtrack is dominated by gurgling and rushing water sounds. And of course, bubbles of air. It's like these people have never heard of rebreather technology.
It made me want to pee.
Anything would.
What did you think of the costumes?
Well, I mean, the only really noteworthy costumes other than the sports bras was that the suits look really cool and are absolutely insufficient, useless, and they would be crushed in less time than I can say the sentence.
I noticed that despite being in a sealed underwater container, everything was dirty. Aren't they bringing in fresh clothes, or are they importing dirt from outside somewhere? was strange.
Yeah, and there was that bucket with a mop, too. I mean, it's just, now that you say it.
I noticed that several of the actors, men and women, were parading around in their underwear at several points in the movie. It was almost a statement of some kind.
Well, isn't it the idea that in these underwater stations, it's incredibly warm, and therefore everybody can just walk around almost as they were created?
Actually, water at that depth is just above freezing.
Yeah, how do they keep from freezing to death?
I don't know. Once again, we have questionable science. What did you think of the special effects?
Well, after seeing Aquaman, there's really nothing that can beat that spectacle. But, there's the inside the monster part. And really, there's only so many ways in which guts can be guts. And starting with Jonah and moving on past Pinocchio, the only interesting thing with guts is that the stomach contents include an underwater shredder that wreaks havoc and gives us the best screams of the movie.
Did you know that he used practical models for the monsters? In an effort to increase realism, the filmmakers dropped the models into the middle of a real ocean and filmed them underwater.
That explains the budget.
Yes, it was a surprisingly expensive movie considering what you got at the end.
You could have probably filmed most of that in a swimming pool, could you?
Well, then it wouldn't be realistic. What was your favorite product placement?
Well, there wasn't much room for product placements, but in the control room there was a video game of the old Space Invaders game, and in the corner there was an ad for buy old gaming consoles on this auction website that we all know.
I noticed the ads for ultra-absorbent paper towels, but I'm not sure if any paper towel could clean up the mess in that station. Did you catch the big twist at the end?
Oh yeah, I'm going to spoil it for everybody. There is the monster and they get eaten by it. And that saves their lives because there is air inside its belly. But then they use pliers and the corpses of angler and other electrical fish to create an electrical system to steer the monster towards the surface and towards the shore, where of course the monster explodes and releases them back into life as heroes.
Well, that was because the giant monster was actually a secret Russian submarine. What moral did you take away from this movie?
Well, not much morality in that movie. I mean, they have all the scantily clad people, but then they actually don't do anything. So it's actually pretty PG. My recommendation, though, is grab an umbrella, go sit outside in the rain, and watch Abyss instead.
For me, the message was clear. If man was meant to explore the oceans, he would have gills. Thank you for listening. This has been Misinformed, the podcast for movie reviews. Now we're going to go see the movie. Goodbye.